Welcome to the Bouchercon 2020 Toastmaster interview. I am Jess Lourey, and I am thrilled to be interviewing Catriona McPherson, who is one of my best friends. She might not know that. Is that a surprise to you, Catriona?
No, and it's absolutely mutual. Mutual, I'm sure. Thank you. But this isn't going to be a love fest. No one's going to need a sick bag, right? Right.
No, right.
Okay.
No, absolutely
No.
not. No, in fact, this is going to be gritty and hard hitting. So strap in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me what you've got.
Yeah. So first of all, I've got the official bio. Here it is. Catriona writes cozies, comic capers, what would be marketed as women's fiction, and dark suspense. She's a 4-time winner of the Lefty Award, 3-time winner of the McCavity Award, 2-time winner of the Agatha Award, and 2-time winner of the Anthony Award. Additionally, she's been a finalist or shortlist honoree for more than a dozen major awards. She is the past president of Sisters in Crime, a member of Mystery Writers of America, and she lives in Davis, California. She's also, I think, a person many of us in the mystery community look up to, both for her volunteer work, for her state of mind, and also for her accent. So I want to start out with a bunch of rapid fire questions to warm us up. So nothing too serious to begin with. Are you up for it?
Aye. There. I've got to do some accent now. I go, oh, away.
Yeah.
Yes, of course I am, yeah.
We're going to have to get closed captions on the bottom so people know. People know what you're saying. Okay, here's the rule with the rapid fire questions. You have to answer all of them, so no passing, and you have at max two seconds to answer. Are you up for it?
I am, and I so want to do real Freudian answers that makes everyone go, can't broadcast that. But I'll try not to. I won't do it deliberately anyway. Let's see.
Yeah, no, do it. It'll make the blooper reel, if nothing else. Okay. Favorite candy bar?
Breasts. Sorry, no, right? See, like that. Like that. Okay, try again.
Me too. Okay. Did you give me
Payday.
payday? Good answer. Favorite dress or frock, as you would say?
Oh, I've only got 87 to choose from. I remember when this is not a 2-second answer, I put a picture of my wardrobe, aka US closet, and your comment was, is that a store? I thought, oh, that was lovely. This one, it's brand new. It's the first time I've had it on, so
Okay.
this one.
Favorite piece of jewelry?
I quite like, I've got 2 seconds. Oh, geez. I happen to have some sea glass love hearts from a dear friend in Scotland, and also a little silver heart from one sister and heart earrings from another sister, and little sea glass bangle from my beloved agent that's also got a little heart in it. So when I'm feeling pressed, when I'm feeling up against it, I can armor up in little hearts from lots of people that I love.
Oh, that's a really long, wonderful answer.
Sorry, Jessie.
Yeah. Who would play you in a biopic?
Oh, I used to say Kate Winslet. Now I'm thinking it's a shame Divine's gone. That's my answer.
Okay, last rapid fire question right now. I'm going to pepper you with them throughout the interview, but the last rapid fire question for right now is not so much a question, but would you do a Minnesota accent? I would like you to say, I want to go to Minnesota in a boat.
I want to go to Minnesota in a boat.
Oh, you have aliens in the entire state.
It's all right. I parsed that. Oh, right. Adorable. Yeah.
Okay, now we're warmed up. So, ready for the questions? Okay, first I want to talk about this girl.
Oh my God.
I know, isn't she a doll?
How did you do that? I've still got the same hairdo. I've still got the same hairdo by very different means. This is more expensive than that. The color, but the shape. Yeah, that pudding bowl just keeps on giving.
I love that face and that hair through the ages. Okay, so I want to talk about that girl, that little girl, Catriona. So she had writing dreams, but wasn't ever sure she was going to be a writer. And I found this quote online. So when asked in an interview how you became a writer, you said, I was a miserable and rubbish linguistics professor. And I was on a weekly commute from home, paying rent in a distant city. Also, J.K. Rowling was writing Harry Potter in that Edinburgh coffee shop. Oprah was in Full Sail, and every woman between 30 and 60 was in a book club. Suddenly, writing didn't seem like a pipe dream. It felt possible. So I resigned and sat down to find out if I could do it. That first book went in a drawer after 40 rejections, but the next one got published and got shortlisted for, of course, another award, the Ellis Peters Historical Dagger. She's still writing historical series that began with that book. But I want to ask about that first book in a drawer because it got published a few years ago in a different shape. It was Come to Harm, right?
Yeah, it did, and it's just about to come out in the UK for the first time, 20 years after the fact. I just got the jacket, like that little image of the jacket this morning to OK from the publisher in London. So,
Wow.
but that's a long time for that to come out in my home country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you want to ask?
What made you pull it back out of the drawer?
The people, I mean, you can't live in a drawer. That they're not borrowers. It was the characters. I loved the characters. Um, and they became so real. I mean, you know, all your characters become real every time, but can you remember the first novel-length story you wrote? What would that have been?
It was my
Mayday?
master's thesis. Yeah,
Oh,
it was awful.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Um, but they seemed so real, um, and I didn't want them stuck there. And I loved the story, but I'm glad it didn't get published. I had been in academia. The language had no playfulness about it at all. It was sort of, you know, there's a line in I Capture the Castle where the father calls Cassie's attempt at poetry stately. Ooh, right? And you know what? Your books are stately. So, and once I joined this genre and this community, I thought, you know, with a nudge, that literary novel could become crime fiction. And so I
Something
gave
I
I
would
gave
want
it that
to
nudge. Yeah.
read.
And that fixed everything. I got the best ever edit note from Terry Bischoff, who's a mutual friend of ours, who was the commissioning editor at Midnight Ink. A margin note, more dead girls.
Yeah.
Something you hear every day, right?
Yeah,
So
she edits both of us. She's a phenomenal editor.
she is a wonderful editor.
So you mentioned in going to school, and you were a linguistics professor, and I have a picture of you graduating.
Oh, different hairdo.
I
Yay.
think it's just the
Look
wind.
at that.
It's the same hair, but it's windy.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah. I just
but
do look like I'm maybe in a band there. Not a good band.
I'd go hear that band. So your thesis topic for your PhD was truth in spoken discourse. That was a mouthful. Like what? But anyhow, does the knowledge you acquired there show up in your writing, or is that just like wasted years?
No, well, I mean, it's not wasted years. Any kind of training in critical thinking is going to come in handy every day, right?
Right.
Um, for work, I think I know what I don't know. So I know when to be, what's the adjective that, like linguistics PhD, what's the
Self-aware,
adjective that goes with no, the verb, the noun humility? You can't say humile, humble?
humble. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well worthwhile. 9 years of study, look at me. Um, so I know what I don't know. So I know like when to not wing it about different voices and dialects and like to write in the past, I can easily find out what the anachronisms are linguistically. So there's that. Um,
Hmm.
not massively, no. I tell you what it does give me is it gives me still such thankfulness that I'm not doing that job anymore, that no matter what horrible bit of this job I am doing, it's still better.
Oh,
That's what it gives me.
nice.
Yeah.
So it sets the bar for awful.
Yeah. I
Oh,
don't cry as much. That's a low bar, but it's true. I used to lock my office and cry.
that should be in the campaign literature for that college. Your professors don't cry as much.
Yeah.
In your bio, I mentioned that you've written, and again, it's a marketing term, but that you've written women's fiction. And I think that's not something a lot of people know about you. And so you
No.
published that as Catriona McLeod. And I reached out to your husband, Neil, to ask him about that first women's fiction slash chicklet. Do you want to know what he said about it?
Yeah, I want to find out if he's ever been listening. Go
Yeah,
for it.
it turns out he has been. He says,
Oh, okay.
yeah, are you disappointed? It was a time travel caper that had a powerful moral message about the nature of responsibility and the difference between what we feel like doing and what we're capable of doing. Like so many of Catriona's books, it featured a sassy, clever, compassionate, and flawed heroine. Only this time, she's a 30-plus version of herself trapped inside her own teenage body and a version of her own past. It was, are you ready for this? Hilarious, clever, heartwarming, and contained wonderful imaginings about the nature of immortality, deities, and karma, and how we create our own branching future through our choices. Oh my gosh.
That's
What was,
still Neil, that end bit. That was still Neil.
yeah, no, I had quotes around that. I did not come up with
Ha!
any of that.
He's a smart kid, isn't he? It's
You
a
better,
constant source of frustration for me. I mean, he's a scientist and I'm a full-time writer, and I am much less, how do you say this? Oh, here we go again. I'm just going to feel embarrassed about language all the way through now. I am not the most creative, artistic person in this house by a
mm,
long chalk. He paints, he plays musical instruments, he writes poetry, he composes his own stuff that he plays. I just sit here and bang out prose.
yeah,
So
right, just like a
that,
monk.
yeah, like a monkey. Thank you, Jessie. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
um,
back to
I'm very fond of that book, and it kind of, it was, you know, I was young and I was new at this, and I didn't know I'd written women's fiction. I didn't know that if you write fiction and you're a woman, that what you've written is women's fiction. That was news. And it was about time travel, and the process of being published made me feel as if I was in the 50s, which was, you know, ironic maybe, or notable anyway. And then they put shoes on the jacket and changed the
oh,
title, and then wanted to change the story to match the title and jacket, and just kind of tried to soften everything down. I think it was that experience of that book that sent me flying into the arms of crime fiction forever,
thank God.
actually. Yeah.
Yes, we welcome you here. And what do you want to say what the title of that book was originally?
Oh, yeah, it's all 150 years ago now. It won't matter. I called it Save Elvis,
Mm,
which is the first job of any time traveler. I think you'll agree.
mm.
Go back, save Elvis, and then not Gandhi, because that's my level, and then do whatever else needs to be done. And they changed it to growing up again.
Oh,
Thank you. I couldn't possibly comment, but I note your reaction. Yeah,
yeah.
but do you know, I was, it was the second thing. No, it was the third thing I wrote. It was the second published book I wrote. And you know, when you're now, I would think, oh well, you know, a title is a marketing tool. They know what they're doing. I was a little bit less um uh, good to work with, I think,
It hurts
then for
more.
sure.
Yeah,
What?
early on, it's that book. It hurts more if they want to
Yeah,
change. Yeah,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
after a while, it's like, eh.
yeah. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, once you've tried to, so I've written, I'm on book 29, 30. I think I'm on book 30 now. And the thought that anyone's going to think up a title, thank you. Oh God, thank you. Because I'm not, it's so hard.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Funnily enough, Come to Harm, when I was thinking up the title for Come to Harm, I couldn't believe it hadn't been used. It
Mm.
just sounded so much like Harlan Coben had maybe written that book already, but no one had until I did.
Did you come up with that title, or did they do it at Midnight Ink?
I think Terry and I together, in one of those kind of giddy, always threatening hysteria message exchanges where we come up with more and more hopeless titles and find them to be amusing. I think
Yeah.
that's how we did it. I can't remember who it came from.
So I'm going to shift a little bit and get a little bit personal for real. And so you write across genres. And there's one thing about all of your writing that captures me, and it's your sense of place. You do many things well. You write characters well. Your dialogue is off the charts. But for me, when I read your books, I feel completely immersed, and that is your sense of place. And you don't just do it in writing, you do it in your home. And so was it last July? Was it a year ago when we were out at this conference in California?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it was the day that the nation was going to find out if Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed. And a lot of us in that room, I think it was a Sisters in Crime event, a lot of us in that room were really on pins and needles. And of course, it did not turn out how I would have liked it to turn out. This really sort of man without the composure to hold a Supreme Court office became a Supreme Court justice for life. And it sort of shattered a lot of us in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And we came together over it. And then on the ride home, because I stayed at your home that night, you and I talked about it and many things. Excuse me. And then we got to your home, and it was the first time I had been there. And if you haven't been to Catriona's home, nothing matches and everything
Ha!
lasts. Nothing matches.
Rude.
Most of it comes out of dumpsters, right? I mean,
Fair point. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and sometimes thrift shops, because we can do fancy. Okay.
Yeah, for when company comes. But the Neil had curry bubbling on the stove. The sheets were soft. Everything except that shell doll was completely welcoming and comfortable.
I should have her behind me. I should be able to do this and have her there. I'm going to do that. Excuse me. She's right here.
Catriona put the shell doll where I could see it. And she said, watch out, her feet skitter at night. But anyhow, that was the long way of getting to, how do you do it? How do you create a place in life and in your fiction that people want to return to?
I've just slid to the side here so you can see this special guest appearance, Jessie, by Grandma Shelley. She's here
Make her feet
for
make
the
that
day.
noise. Make her feet.
Yeah, she's not the least bit scary. She's just a little shell doll with a hollow back. What's creepy about that? No, Jessie, you said don't put her in my room, and I said I don't have to put her in my room. Your room. She knows the way.
That is true.
When we bought that shell doll, we bought it for $5 in an antique shop in a little town in Rhode Island, and I took it up to the till and said, "How much is this?" And the guy gave me a look that went, "Really? $5? Wow, a steal!" And he was kind of, so he took it away. So yeah, there is no kitsch that's too kitsch. For me, a salt and pepper shaker that's two little kittens with long eyelashes, I am in. What was the question?
How do you create that sense of place in fiction
Oh, right.
and in life that we want to return to?
Yeah. How in at home, I've no idea. Just more is more. You know, far too much is almost enough is my watchword. I could never do minimalist. But I think if you curate, not pack, if you curate comfortable things, and I think partly because everyone knows that most of my stuff, I mean, some of it's from antique shops, some of it's from thrift stores, you're never worried that you're going to spill something, right? And I think that helps. I mean, if you sit down in a chair and it goes to splinters, then as long as you're okay, you know that everything's okay. I'm not going to care about the chair. So I think that's it. In writing, I think it's part of what Neil calls overreacting for a living. So I'm gone. I know he's so supportive. I'm gonna have to be really nice to him after that thing he said about the Save Elvis. But I think I'm totally gone. You know, I can't do more than one thing at once, and I can't. You know, I have to immerse for a long time. So if it takes me maybe 6 hours to write 2,000 words, that's because the 2,000 words come out in hours 5 and 6, and hours 1 to 4 is me sulking and pouting and like a dog going to the vet, you know, making a score marks in the linoleum. Um, but but inevitably getting to where I need to be. I think that might be it.
Hmm.
I don't know, you know, same back. How do you do it? Don't
Yeah.
pick on me.
Well, you kind of are the interviewee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah. Funnily enough, though, I mean, the hardest time I've ever had with it was trying to write about exactly where I'm from in West Lothian in Scotland, which I've just done in a book called the Gingerbread House, or maybe A Gingerbread House, not sure yet. That's coming out next year, and that so there must be something about the effort to get there that makes it possible, because when I was writing about the place I was born, where my father was born, where my family still live, it was really hard.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, you and Neil pulled up roots and moved from Scotland to California. What's been the high point and the low point of your 10 years here?
Hold up, what was that?
What's been the high point of living in the
No,
US?
I'm messing with you. We pulled up roots.
You pulled up roots.
Roots. Yeah, okay. Yes,
Root.
we pulled up roots. The high point and the low point. I mean, in term professionally, it almost feels weird to say that professionally, because our work is so much part of life, and it's so joined together. Like that day, that's that Kavanagh day, you know, when we'd been together at that meeting, and then we came back here. We were talking about life and truth and justice and fairness and goodness and work and stories. And
Right.
but my high point, um probably, oh no, my high point, definitely, it was, so I think it must have been 2015, when marriage equality passed, was
Mm.
it? And the ALA, the American Library Association Summer Convention, happened to be in San Francisco, and it happened to be Pride weekend. And then out of nowhere, SCOTUS made their marriage equality announcement, and I was there. Neil was there to carry, I almost said hump boxes. That's a dialect difference that can cause trouble. Carry boxes, not hump boxes. And Doris Ann Norris, who we've lost since, was there. And so we were there as representatives of Sisters in Crime, because I think I was the president at that point, or post-president, and all the librarians were there, and Pride was going on outside, and the news had just broken about marriage equality, and so all the librarians kept going out of the convention centre to watch, and coming back in with rainbow tiaras and leis and badges and boas and feathers, and the whole convention floor just turned into more and more of a rainbow over the course of the day. It was magical. It was just the most perfect, wonderful day.
Wow.
Um,
I don't even want to sully that by asking the low point, because that was beautiful and well told. Thank you.
well, oh, the low point is funny now. It's funny now. It wasn't funny when it happened. The low point was definitely 2012. I can't remember when, but 2012, I think. Um, my agent was shopping what would be the first standalone
I remember the story.
suspense.
Yeah, go on.
Right. As She Left It, it's called. She was shopping it in London, and there was interest. There was, lively interest, and so there was an auction. And I had just come back from Britain. I'd had a great summer. It was the Olympics. It was 2012. I'd been home for 6 weeks. Came back and went to Providence, with Neil, because he was at a convention there. Sidebar: Providence would be a great place to have a Bouchercon. It's a friendly little city, and with a brilliant convention centre and 2 great hotels. Anyway, um, and so I was in our room. Neil was down at some thing at the convention, and I was in our room, patched through, well, on the phone, but sounds better, to London for this auction to go, and no one bid. We were expecting 4 or 5 publishers to be in this auction, and no one bid. So we hung up, and I'm sitting there, and Neil, I heard the key in the hotel room door, and Neil came flying in and went, "Well," as in, "Who's paying for our swimming pool?" "Well," and I said, "No one bid," and he went, "Ha ha ha. Come on, come on. I'm supposed to be, I've actually walked off a podium to come and find out what's happened. And I've seen, Neil, no one bid." And he went, "Catriona, please, I don't have time for this. Tell me what happened." I said, "Neil, I'm not messing with you. No one bid." And he said, this is just something here, because I don't have time for this. I've got to go back. I'll see you later," and left. So I was just left sitting there. No one wanted my book. My pal wasn't speaking to me because he thought I was winding him up, which is always a safe bet, but I wasn't.
It hurts my stomach.
I know, it was just awful. But the thing is here, you probably heard that story when I was whining about it at Malice Domestic the next year, in the hearing of Terry Bischoff. And I was going, "Nobody wants my book." And she slid a business card over the table and said, "I'll take a look at it." And I went, "All right, okay." And then I think she went to the toilet, and that was when everyone else at the table went, "She never does that. That wasn't nothing. Take this seriously." And then there were six of those books, and both of those Anthony Awards.
Yeah.
from that sliding that business card across the table. The scary woman, Terry Bishop, I was a bit frightened of her
Yeah, she's very intimidating, our Terry. Yeah.
at first, yeah. But yeah, that was those. I think that would be definitely the low, the low point. Oh,
Yeah, going to auction and then having everybody
yeah,
bid not at all.
and just have to put cling film over all your little sandwiches, put them in the fridge. Nobody came. No, nobody came to my party.
No,
Ah,
they were
well,
at a party, but not yours.
no.
So you mentioned in the story preceding your very tragic story, being president of Sisters in Crime. And so I'm sure everybody listening to this interview knows that Sisters in Crime is a premier mystery writing organization, one of the best out there, both for taking care of its members and also for helping up and coming and published writers. But as president, you oversaw the 2016 Sisters in Crime Publishing Summit Report on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the Mystery Community. What was the goal of that? Why was it important to you? Why did you champion that?
I was mystified about being asked to become Sisters in Crime president. I still don't quite know why I was asked.
Mhm.
Laura Di Silverio asked me at Malice Domestic, and I was sort of thinking, oh, okay.
Probably
Um,
everybody felt bad about the auction.
that'll be it. Yeah, you're a very kind lot of people in this community. And I knew that I was going to do this publishing summit report. I knew that it was coming, and I thought, well, I don't know what to do. And I'd had a lot of conversations with Frankie Bailey, who was a former president of Sisters in Crime, and the first and so far the only African American president of Sisters in Crime. And we were having a talk about being new here and learning to stop being Scottish and to become white. She helped me so much, the sort of becoming aware of your privilege. Um, because when I came here, everyone just was American. Everyone was equally exotic. I knew that, some American people were black and some American people were white. It was just an undifferentiated bunch of thrillingly exotic American people, which is not a helpful stance for an ethnically white person to have. So Frankie helped me a great deal to become more useful in my new country. And one of the things she said was that when she became president of Sisters in Crime, she was immediately subject to the Obama effect, that she could no longer speak easily and without attracting a kind of glib scorn about the problems facing Black people, because she was the president of Sisters in Crime. And at that, I sort of big light bulb went on in my head, and I thought, ha ha ha! Well, here we go. Here I am. I'm straight, white, cis, able-bodied person. This is what I can do, and at least no one's going to say, "Oh, you're scrabbling for your own advantage." So that was where that came from. It was a way to make myself useful when I hadn't been able to see what my usefulness was until that point. And it was going to be that report, and I'm still proud of it. It was going to be, it was going to be all kinds of things. You know what it's like whenever you start working on a new project. It's going to be, the key to all mythologies. And our first step was going to be asking writers of colour and LGBTQ plus writers and writers with disability for the sorts of things we should be looking into. And it quickly became apparent that this little team from Sisters in Crime, that the act of listening and finding out what the problems were and just reporting that was going to be the report. Because what we heard was shamefully astonishing for privileged people to hear. Not at all astonishing for the people who were telling us and taking their time with us so graciously. But it was a start. It was a start.
It was a start, and obviously we have to start somewhere. What more do we need to do to address inequality as a community? And you can't say lots, because there is lots to do.
Yeah. I think the thing that came out most starkly uh, to me in that process, which was 2016, I think, that we did it, was saying how do we make it better? How do we? This is particularly about race, because we looked at the three sets of pressures on LGBTQ plus people, writers with disability, and writers of colour and native writers separately. But particularly about race, if I can, just for a minute, You know, how do we change it? How do we change it? Everyone said so. Steph Cha and uh, I'm trying to remember all the people who were in this now. Naomi Hirahara and an anonymous publishing professional who we called X. Doesn't that say everything? Desiree Zamorano was there, Rachel Housel Hall and Attica Locke were giving their time to us. And they just kept saying more Black people in publishing. You need more people of colour in publishing, hire more Black people in the room. You need more people of colour. And so that's, you know, anytime people are saying, what will we do? You know, anytime there's a panel where 4 people of colour are asked to talk about what publishing needs to do, what I want to happen is for them to all sit down and in chorus say, hire more people of colour, and then kick over the chairs and go to the bar. That's what I want to happen. I would just be so happy if that ever happened, because we don't need, it's like, oh, let's do more research on climate change. No, we don't need more research. We know what to do. Yeah. This is what to do. Just do it. Yeah. Some things are hard, but this is not one of them. Right, I'll just settle down now.
No, well said. Well said. Thank you. So that was important. And I'm gonna pivot back to your writing. I think that all writers explore similar themes, no matter what they're writing, across genres. And so for me, the theme I always return to is secrets. And it took me a few books to figure it out, and it's usually family secrets. I think in reading all of your books that no matter what you're writing, comic caper, but especially dark suspense, cozy, that your themes are missing children and what it means to be in a family, and not always a traditional family, but what a family means. And so do you think that's fair? Does that feel like your themes?
I think definitely those do feel like my themes. One of them, You've Got Me Banged to Rights, Gov, the missing children, and I understand where that comes from. The other one, what it means to be a family, I've got no idea where that comes from. So, but the missing children, I started writing in 2001 at the age of 35, do the arithmetic, when I was 4 treatments into what would end up being 9 IVF treatments, all unsuccessful. After which, when we were looking at treatment 10, I was looking at number 10, and then Neil came home from work one day and said, there's a job in California. How about plan B? You know, and so that part of moving to California was just, let's draw a line under this. Let's stop this. We couldn't afford a fertility treatment in the US, and we knew that we wouldn't be eligible to adopt because we wouldn't be citizens or even permanent residents. And it was just a way of saying, enough, there are other lives to live. So, but in my writing, there's still, not in my life, I miss my nieces and nephews, not in my life, but in my writing, there's always a missing child. And it was my agent, Lisa, who said quite casually one time when I handed a manuscript in, okay, so where's the missing child this time? And I thought, you know, I bristled, not really bristled, but I thought, what? And I thought, oh no, yeah, you're right, you're dead right. The Child Garden, I know you've read it, and for anyone who's read it, was my attempt, my defiant attempt to just write a completely normal mother-child relationship. That went mediumly well to atrociously. And then House Tree Person, that was The Weight of Angels in Britain, that was another attempt to write just a protagonist who happened to be a mother. No big deal. And the story was going to be about something else. Epic fail, right? Epic fail. So I'm edging towards it. I've just done it in a short story for the Bouchercon anthology. The Bouchercon anthology has a short story where the protagonist is a mother of 2 sons, and the story is not about them or that. But it's taken a lot of digging out.
And it's in the bag. You're not going to change it and toss in or take out.
No, Art Taylor signed off on it because he's editing the anthology California Scheming for Bouchercon, so I'm not going to mess with Art. He knows what he's doing with short stories. The other theme, like what it means to be a family, why am I exploring that? I've got my family, I've got my parents, my 3 sisters, one of whom is in my heart now, not in the world anymore. She's gone. And just 3 brothers-in-law, 16 nephews and nieces, 11 and another one coming, great nephews and nieces. I mean, it's a squad of people. I have never had to make a family. Just as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, I wonder if that theme started when I knew I was leaving.
Oh,
That theme might have begun because when I wrote As She Left It, that first modern novel, we thought we were coming to California. That might be what that is,
that
knowing that
makes
I was going to have to put together a team here because I was so far away.
look at we
Um,
puzzled that out.
Thank you, Jessie. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, your family, I've met your mom and dad, and they are fantastic. Your dad is actually one of my favorite people, and my husband and I were in Scotland for 2 days a couple of years ago, and your dad found out about it, and without telling me, came to our bed and breakfast. And I was so jet lagged, and I saw him walking across the parking lot, and I'm like, man, that looks like Katrina's dad, but maybe all guys in Scotland look like that. So I kind of looked over his shoulder, and he comes out with his arms out and gives me a big old hug. And so, yeah, your family's fantastic.
They are, but they are a long way away. And so I have put together, you know, another family in the US. Neil's here. Okay, Neil's here.
Oh, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, he's here, but he's a guy, and men. I'm going to say this: men are not like other people. When your family is women, a man, your favorite guy in the world is still, guy, and he's Scottish. He's from Fife. It's like extreme Scottish. It's like, you know. No, I'm not going to name a state. See, sometimes I can be so mature. I am not naming a state, but he's from Fife. Um, they're not known for effusiveness. Um, so I think that's what that is, and I love writing that. I love,
Yeah.
when you meet someone on their worst day and you follow them downhill from there. But in the background, as all hell is breaking loose and life's unraveling, the the characters, the people who are going to coalesce and crawl out of this still breathing and pick themselves up and go on into the future, they're beginning to make themselves known as the book's going on, and I love that. So that's my idea of a happy ending. Yeah, the dog died, yeah, the old lady got killed, but at the end of the book there's a band of plucky survivors who can go on.
You actually named my favorite book of yours, which is The Day She Died. And that is my favorite book because my name is in it. But I also love House Tree Person because the suspense in that one, like I can physically feel it remembering reading that book. But then there's Go to My Grave, which has that, oh, you nailed the gothic in that. And so I have a hard time picking a favorite book of yours. What do you have a favorite?
um it's nice to remember them, isn't it? Because they're so gone when they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. I would always have said, for a lot of years, I said The Child Garden was my favourite book because of when I wrote it. I'd worked on it for 2 weeks when I got the news from Edinburgh that my sister Sheila had died. And so I dropped everything, went back to Edinburgh, was there for about 3 weeks, dealing with the fact that someone far too young and totally unexpected had died, and funeral and everything. And then I left. So I left my family and came back here and wrote that book and wrote my way out of grief. First time I'd ever grieved. I had such a good run. It was, I was in my mid 40s. That right? Yeah, by the time I grieved. And so I wrote my way out of grief hand in hand with Gloria, who's the character in The Child Garden. And it made it really special. But the thing about grief is it's awful. It's our friend Jessie Chandler, the other Jessie, says it's the price that you pay for the love you got. It's the last act of love, and it's a good deal, that price, to have love and then pay the price of grief. I think it's still a good deal. But God, it's work, isn't it? It's hard work, and it's active. You have to do it. You don't
Yeah,
just lie on a couch while it happens. You do it.
yeah.
And now it's gosh, it's 7 years later, and I've done it. So I can now, I'm not still hanging on to the child garden as the thing that got me through that. I
Mm.
have done grieving for Sheila. So now I maybe need to think again. Thank you. But don't I don't have a new answer. I don't have a new answer now, but that doesn't feel like the answer anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great answer though. Writing is so powerful for working through a lot of things. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, I think we're lucky that we have that. Do you have a least favorite book? The one that we should all probably avoid?
No, I have a sort of, oh, poor wee ugly cat, with half an ear and three legs and halitosis book that I love. The third Dandy Gilver novel is called Bury Her Deep. Bury, I don't know how you say that word, like put in a grave.
Very,
Bury.
very.
Okay. Oh, same. Like table. I love it, but Neil calls it the concept album. And David Headley of Goldsborough Books in London, a specialist bookseller, got in touch with me and said, it took me until page 160 before I realised that nothing was going to happen. And I always think you should know before that if nothing's going to happen. So I still love it.
Yeah. How about
Um,
covers? Do you have a favorite cover? Book cover?
oh, see, the cover for Bury Your Deep, I would wear that as a dress, but
Oh.
that's a low bar for me, I suppose. I've got I've got a dress with a train print that I bought in Edinburgh with my friend, old friend Nancy Balfour, and I saw it in the shop. It was covered in 1930s trains, and said to Nancy, "Oh God, what's the upper age limit of wearing a train with dresses in it?" And she said 12, which I loved.
Mhm.
Um, Covers. Um, I do like The Day She Died. I would live in that house. I like the cover for Quiet Neighbours. It's a little house in the middle of a graveyard. So the
Yeah.
the, the picture and the title together work really well
Mhm.
for that book. Um, I love them all. There was a Turkish cover for the Child Garden that was just, I don't know, it's like, like a waxworks, but
Yeah.
not a good waxworks. Like somebody just said one day, we've got $500, let's open a waxworks. This cover, this jacket was a figure that you would see in that waxworks. I mean, you'd love it. You'd pull off the road for that. The world's largest ball of yarn and smallest waxworks
Fine.
in the same town. I
Fine.
know you, but
Yeah.
not on your own book jacket. It was
Ah,
amazing. And so I tend to keep my powder quite dry and go, that, like I was saying, now I do, because we don't know what the marketing people have done. But at that point, Lisa did steam in and said, no, sorry, guys, no, absolutely not. And now I kind of regret that, because it was off the other end bad. And they
yes.
fixed it so that it was okay. And now I'm thinking maybe a sort of, like, you could wave it under someone's nose like smelling salt's bad would be better.
There is something to be said for so bad it's an art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for some
Sharknado springs to
Sharknado
mind.
bad?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for some more rapid fire questions?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. Again, the rules, you can't pass and you have 2 seconds to think.
Okay.
And that's a lot, so don't take both seconds. Favorite Scottish food?
Haggis.
It's such a stereotype. Favorite American food?
Barbecue spare ribs.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Oh, I mean tater tots. Sorry, Jessie. Tater
Oh no,
tots.
tater tots are my comfort food. They're my spirit
Tater,
animal.
tater tots that I thought was the same thing as a teeter totter. And I
Uh-uh.
thought, how does the etymology of which one came first? Anyway,
I actually know the etymology. I will tell you sometime. One
okay.
food you hate.
Um, Sauerkraut.
I'm
I
shocked.
will still choke it down if someone serves it to me. The only thing I cannot eat, 2-bite eyeballs. A wee crispy eyeball that you can just swallow fine, but an eyeball so big you have to bite it in two. That's the only thing I won't eat. That's a
Okay,
food stuff.
fair. Has that come up?
No pun intended, right? um, yeah, because I like to go in New York. When we used to go to New York, we used to go to Chinatown and say, we want to eat something, we don't know what it is. Once we've eaten it, we don't know what it is. That's the ambition. And it did come up there once.
Okay. Okay. Current favorite television show?
Schitt's Creek.
Good call. First thing you do when you get out of bed in the morning?
Get back in with some coffee.
Three things you'd bring to a desert island?
Oh, books. A boat. Can I have a boat?
Books and a boat, yes.
Book, books and a boat. And
Mm,
three things.
mm.
A
Neil?
cell phone tower. Oh, yeah, sorry, Neil. Yeah. Right.
Biggest difference between California and Scotland?
Happiness.
Which end?
Oh, like happiness as a respectable life goal instead of a kind of silly nonsense you need to get over.
Was it you who told me the story of essentially the Walmart checker at a Scottish
Yeah.
grocery store? What is that story?
Yeah, that instead of going, hi, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, if it's raining outside, this woman, hand on my heart, hand to God, goes, miserable day, miserable day, miserable day, as everyone's coming in. Also, if the sun's shining, she doesn't say this, but we've got a way to cope if the sun's shining. Oh, we'll pay for this. Oh, we'll pay for this.
And so, okay, so you brought us back to the UK, and I have not asked you nearly enough about Dandy Gilbert. Are there 14 Dandy Gilbert books?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
Dandy Gilbert starts out as sort of a stoic English woman. And as the series progresses, she becomes more relaxed. And so is that intentional, or is that just the natural evolution of a whole character, just like humans evolve?
I wonder if it's because I can't write more than one thing. So Dandy Gilver has suffered for the
Mm,
fact that I'm also writing modern heroines. Let's put that out there because that's a possibility.
that makes sense.
Um, but I would like to think it's because she has burst out of her very narrow, social, kind of shallow rat run of a life that she was on before the First World War. And then she volunteered at a convalescent home. And then the expectation was she'd just go back into that, doing her correspondence, having house parties, blah, 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 die of boredom in her mid 70s. But now, in her cases, she's been in miners' villages, and she's been undercover as a servant, and she's been she's been in a what she would call an insane asylum, which we wouldn't call that. She's been in an orphanage, so she's just, her life has widened so remarkably. And because I think she's got a moral core, she hasn't been able to keep that kind of thoughtless brittleness that she had at the beginning. So I hope that's what it is. And it's not just that they're all merging together because I'm not very good.
You
Hope
are
so.
very good. And so Dandy Gilbert the whole series has been described as lighthearted but serious-minded. And I think that could be used to describe a lot of books marketed as cozies. Uh, what's your favorite thing about either reading or writing cozies? What about it appeals to you?
Well, that's such a good question. I certainly think we don't need to defend it, which I know is not the question you asked.
Right,
But some people who are fond of cozies do feel that they've got to make a case for them.
right.
I think they're no less realistic than noir. I think
Mhm.
there's dark fantasy and light fantasy. None of it's realistic. Series, let's say series, because some standalones, I'm thinking of Sean Cosby's Blacktop Wasteland, does not feel unlikely, even though it's brilliantly plotted. So
Mhm.
life would never be that neat, but apart from the plot, it doesn't feel unlikely at all. Your House Will Pay, Steph Chaz, last year's Your House Will Pay, that didn't feel like any kind of fantasy at all. That felt like life. So maybe just series. Right, back to the question, what do I love most about cozies? I think it's that found family again, because once you get a really good squad, the Scooby Gang, the team who are
Mhm.
in the cozies, and they're really running like an engine. They're running smoothly. It's lovely to see them again.
Yes.
Mira and Johnny and Mrs. Burns. So this is Jessie's Murder by the Month series. God, I whined so much when you were, just out of cruelty and kind of sociopathy that's always running under everything you do. You said that you might stop at 10. And I
Mhm.
just basically lay down on the floor and drummed my heels and sobbed.
I think you
And
offered to co-write with me. Is that
oh
possible?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I did. I said, will you let me write the last two? And then you're so insecure. You thought, imagine if she writes the last two and it's a breakout. I cannot let that happen. I've
That's
got to write I've
that's
got to
exactly
write
what
them.
happened, and that's led me to finish them. So
But
thank
those people, it's the people, it's the going back, It's
you.
and I think that's what I like about Schitt's Creek as well. Would you be offended if I said that Schitt's Creek doesn't feel too far from Battle Lake, Minnesota to me?
No, that would be the
No.
highest compliment. I love that show. The first season dragged a little bit for me, but oh, after that, the show is incredible. And it's the family. It's
Yeah.
the ugly side and the beautiful side of family.
This is sort of unexpected warmth. And
Exactly.
that's the same as in Battle Lake. That's what we get.
Yeah.
Mrs. Burns is just funny. She's just I love her. I have to be really careful not to write her. If I'm writing an older person, like an octogenarian funny character, I have to think it can't be Mrs. Burns because she belongs to Jessie.
That is some high praise. Do you have any male protagonists? I don't think you do.
No, I don't. I
Would
don't. I
you?
tried.
Okay.
In the child garden was going to be chapter about between Gloria and Stig, and it didn't work. And I even did the book I've just finished, The Gingerbread House, has got 4 voice characters, and I thought I was going to try and make one of them one of the men in the book, and I just couldn't do it. I mean, know your limits.
Yeah.
Should I? Maybe I should.
I don't know. Maybe a short story, flash fiction.
Good idea. So yeah, that's because I've just said I managed to do something in a short story that I've never done in a novel. That's a
Yeah.
really good idea. Next time I write a short story, I'm going to write a. Oh wait, no, I have. I have written a short story, with a male protagonist, the butler from Dandy Gilbert, because I love writing short stories, sort of in her world, but not with her in them. So I'm going around the servants' hall, her cook, her lady's maid, and I've written one in the voice of her butler. So yes, of course I have. Why do you ask?
Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah. Everybody knows.
have some respect.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to switch over to Lexi Campbell. And what is her Scottish full first name?
Oh, Lexi, but as the way of Gaelic is as Gaelic does, Gaelic rather. Um, it's spelled Leagsaidh, pronounced Lexi. So it's Katrina with an O dialed up to 11, basically.
Yeah,
You know.
it's a nice touch. And so that's a straight up comic caper series. And with that, I love that gang to talk about family, that gang that you've written that lives in the Last Stitch Motel. So, and that's a recent series, right? 4 years
Yeah,
old, maybe. Did
yeah.
that did that come out of a desire to write pure comedy, or was Lexi, did she show up as a character first? Where did that come from?
God, no, a desire to write pure comedy. It's terrifying. It
Oh,
came from my editor saying, we want another series from you, and me trying to make a living as a writer. And knowing that, and even though I was heading into the 3 years of being Sisters in Crime on the Sisters in Crime board, and I was already writing 2 books a year, if I said no, I'd get punched in the neck by a close friend, because everybody's trying so hard to make a living as a writer. If
yeah.
you said no, I mean, that's pathetic. That would be so flabby. So I said, yeah, okay. Um, and then was so intimidated because a book like, The Day She Died, it's got some laughs in it.
Mhm.
I'm picking that one because I know you said that you had maybe looked at it recently or you'd read it. So, but if you don't think the laughs are funny, it doesn't matter because there's a lot more. But if
Right.
you market something as a comedy and it's not funny, then you're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't want to at all. Um, but then I thought, but then when I thought, well, it's going to be a Scottish voice character and it's going to be set in the US. And I thought, what's she going to do? And I thought, she's going to be a marriage and family counselor. And that just struck me as endlessly hilarious to
Mhm.
think of a Scot there's more to life than happiness, you know, suck it up, we'll soon be dead. Trying to counsel California people who've got such high expectations of fulfillment, and they're just so much more better, you know, they're just better at feelings and hope and, you know, and resilience and robustness. They're not kind of like, we can get through this and nobody's going to notice. So I can say that because it's my own folk. So that just struck me as being really funny.
It is.
My therapist says things like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and her husband's cheating on her in that first book too, right? It opens up with him being just a skank.
She's a marriage guidance counselor with one client. She's divorced after 6 months. She's got one client, and that one client is in jail for murdering her husband. So I thought, well, this is going to be fun.
It's a beautiful setup. Okay, so you've got 14 and counting, Dandy Gilbert cozies, the 3 and counting, Lexi Campbell. Are you still going to write Lexi Campbell?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 what would be marketed as women's fiction, you wrote as Catriona McLeod. And the 8 and better be counting, standalone suspense. Are there ways that help you keep consistent when you're working on different series, or is it just spit and glue?
I just do one thing at a time, and no multitasking whatsoever. I do, you know, I write the whole of a first draft of something without doing anything else at all. Or if something comes in, page proofs are all right, but if an edit comes, like a structural edit comes, I have to stop that, tidy it all away, take a day, you know, do something, read something, and then do all of the edit, then take another day, and then go back. So I can't mix it. I don't know if you can, I don't know if other writers can, but there's probably more of Neil's like overreacting for a living. I just have to make it really, really monolithic. And they're quite different. One's in the past, one's in the sun, and one strand feels like it's coming out of my life. I mean, my life is not Dandy Gilbert. I am not Dandy Gilbert. I'm not rich, English, you know, dog-loving, conservative, stoic, ha 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 ha, noted overreactor. So that's easy. And that's not my life, and the suspense, thank God, that's not actually my life. You know, my life has been calmer and sweeter than any of those lives. But those are my, you know, you've got that thing, because we've got that thing. Oh my God, what if?
Right.
So it comes out of places that I've been. Put it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have one last round of rapid fire questions and then one final question for you. Are you ready?
Yep.
First, can you do an impression of somebody going downstairs on Zoom?
Oh, I thought you were going to go, like going downstairs on a hospital trolley. No, okay.
Like a mime going downstairs.
All right, okay. Yeah. Oh, can I stand up for this so you can see the rest of my dress?
I would love that.
Okay.
I would love that.
Because look.
Look at the pleats.
I know.
And tux.
Okay. Right. The answer is no, I can't. But I can do a stripper drop. So there you go.
Which looks almost just like a drop.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What makes a drop a stripper drop?
I don't know. I don't know.
Clothes. No clothes.
It is probably the clothing. Yeah. This is a terrible segue. What is your guilty pleasure?
No, I don't have any guilt about pleasure. I'm a failed Presbyterian. I'm a failed Scot.
Nice.
I have no guilt about any pleasure.
Okay.
It helps not to find pleasure in awful things, right? You know? I'm not saying I stamp on kittens. Who cares? But no.
How about your pet peeve?
In 2 seconds, non-apologies.
Oh, there's been a recent one. What's the best compliment you've ever received about your work?
Oh, Charlene Harris emailed me when I got nominated for an award. No, do you know what? She emailed me when I got an A+ from Entertainment Weekly and said, "You've put in all the work, you deserve this."
That is so, she's a lovely woman. What book was it that got the A plus?
I've got the Entertainment Weekly because I'm that sad. I actually can't remember right now. But
Oh,
it was that compliment, not just, oh, you're lucky, or,
right,
oh, Stardust has touched you, but you've put in the years. It
right.
meant so much.
Yeah, that's perfect. Which protagonist of yours do you most identify with?
Jess, probably. Must be Jess if that's the one that came into my mind.
The day she
Jess.
died?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Noted. Yeah.
Favorite song to dance to when you finish a draft?
Oh, Happy, Pharrell.
Oh, could do a little bit of that right now, cause
Yeah. 'Cause I'm happy. Don't
all
make me
right,
dance. I'm too white.
yeah,
Right.
and sing. Mm-mm. Okay,
Yeah.
what are you reading these days? And we're taping this in July, but what are you reading these days?
I love Alexia Gordon's Totally Bonkers series. So it's an African American orchestra conductor working in a boys' school in rural Ireland, drinking whiskey and living in a haunted cottage. And it's just, I think that's another thing I love about cozies. Everything she likes is in those books. It's that feeling of, who's going to stop me? I can do this. This can be a theme. Um, and I'm also really excited about Laura Jensen Walker, who's a local Sacramento writer's debut. Another example of all of life is here in a cozy.
Mm.
She is a cancer survivor, sorry, who lives flat. So she gave up on prosthetics. She had breast cancer and she now lives flat.
Oh,
And as is her protagonist.
oh,
Oh my God. She's a cancer survivor who lives flat, gave up on prosthetics, as is her protagonist. And she's got knitted knockers for best, which is just funny. Right? They're
wow.
much lighter than proper prosthetics, apparently. And so it's fun. She's a cook and she owns a bookshop. But she's also got this seriousness about what she survived and what she learned from it. So
Is she a cook or a kook?
she's those rhyme. That's like saying, does Barry rhyme with hurry or curry? Um, she cooks food,
Okay.
right? And then I've got my TBR pile here. This is what's just turned up. Miracle Creek, Pine. This is by Kristen Lepionka, Paquet de los Zapas, Shattering Glass. There you go. It's my TBR pile.
That's a great pile. That's a nice
That's
looking.
what's coming next. I've got a huge couple of TBR shelves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. I've always been a very good supporter of bookstores and writers. Okay, here's the final question. So I know you don't like to talk about what you're working on, so I'm going to skirt it a little bit. So what is a book that you've already written and it's in the chute? So what's coming out next that's not out right now?
Thank you. Yes, the next Andy Gilbert to come is called The Mirror Dance. Geez, I had to reach for that. The Mirror Dance. It's about Punch and Judy show, sort of.
Hmm.
And the next standalone to come, which is coming in the spring, is called or the Gingerbread House. So you can tell already that's not going to go well. It's set right where I'm from in the post-industrial, quite depressed bit of the central belt of Scotland. And it's got 4 voice characters, which is a big structural reach for me. Not for most people, but certainly for me.
I'm excited to read it. Katrina, it has been a pleasure to talk to you for, how was it been 7 hours, 8 hours?
Yeah, 7 hours since early yesterday morning.
It's really been a pleasure. You are one of my favorite people. So thanks,
Oh,
thanks for the
thank you.
interview.
It is absolutely mutual. I'm going to say that again. It's absolutely mutual, Jessie. Thank you very much. This has been great.
Yay.
Thank you very much. This means the world to Win and Anthony for the very last book I got to cook up with my co-conspirator at Midnight Ink, Ms. Terry Bischoff. Thank you. It hardly feels necessary to have another treat in this fantastic year. One more thing to add to the stroll through those meadowfuls of buttercups that this year is. Seriously, I do want to thank Ray and Michelle for pulling together virtual Bouchercon and giving us one good weekend. And I do want to shout out to my fellow nominees in the category: Ed Amar, Susie Calkins, Laurie Chandler, Gigi Pandian, Wendell Thomas, and Gabriel Valjean. I miss you all. I'll see you later. I hope it's going to feel like soon, and thank you.
Sisters in Crime is a vibrant, international, inclusive community for those who love and write crime fiction, mystery, thrillers, and suspense. Our members are writers, published and not yet published, traditionally published and indie, fiction and nonfiction, all genres, all ages, and all genders. We're also booksellers, librarians, publishing professionals, reviewers, researchers, and readers. Here's what we have in common: a passion for new stories and new voices. As a sibling, you'll have access to monthly newsletters, a quarterly journal, online workshops, and a webinar series that features topics in writing craft, publishing do's and don'ts, self-promotion, and the inside details of crime and justice that will make your stories more realistic. Most importantly, siblings have each other. Learn more about the benefits of becoming a member at www.sistersincrime.org. We want to be part of your writing success.